Again, today let's explore the dark and unordinary. Prepare your mind for the horrors you're about to see. It's always been generally rumored that if there were ever a zombie apocalypse, it would likely start in China. So, should we be worried about this video that was released about a man resurrecting from the morgue?
Is there a zombie apocalypse going on in China? A video was released a couple of days ago, showing a man who was presumed dead coming back to life in a horrific zombie-like fashion. This video allegedly came from a morgue in China. Now, there's already many articles explaining that if a zombie apocalypse were to begin, the likely epicenter of it would be China. However, many people are saying that China being China would have likely covered it up and not let anyone find out. And if you're just hearing about it now, you are too late. So, I bet you're now wondering.
The great white shark is the largest sea creature known to Earth. However, the radar gotten from the ocean reveals that two great white sharks are possibly on the belly of another creature.
The megalodon is still alive. The TikToker Shark Wahlberg recently brought to light that two great white sharks have gone missing. And using the data from SeaWorld Shark Tracker, it shows that the missing sharks have been traveling distances at speeds that are nearly impossible for a shark of that size. Furthermore, temperature data coming from the trackers of the missing sharks are consistent with the data of creatures when they get eaten and are in the belly of other predators. So, what could have eaten a shark as large as the great white shark? This is why many people say that.
We tend to believe what we see, and so far we've believed that the Earth is round. But what if Antarctica was not the end of the world, and there was something beyond its great ice walls?
The Earth might be bigger than we thought. For years, people have debated over the shape of the Earth, if it is round or flat. Now, this might just all be a conspiracy, but what if the Earth had more than just 7 continents? And Antarctica was just a giant ice wall that kept us from seeing the rest of the continents. What if once you made it past the ice wall, you'll find the 20 continents that are really being hidden from us? And what if there was a map that showed this? There are theories that these continents contain prehistoric animals, aliens, and advanced civilizations, and that the 7 continents that we are living in is actually a giant farm or business owned by a small handful of families that make up the filthy rich in the real world. Or in the other continents that we don't know about. That is why.
There are many bad ways to die, and one of them has to be this one. Backflipping 16 stories down to your death because you lost your footing in a stunt.
Here's some haunting last photos of people. Part 4. Pavel Kashin was a Russian parkour artist who was famously known for doing backflips on the edges of buildings. He loved the sense of danger in these stunts, but his love for the sport would later be his downfall. This is the last photo taken of Pavel, which shows him in the midst of doing his final stunt. The stunt itself was successful, but after landing, he lost his footing and fell 16 stories to his death.
Beneath the ocean's surface, down in the bottom, lie things no one ever wants to see.
Strangest things found at the bottom of the ocean. This footage was recorded by deep-sea divers in 2015 and it shows a strange alien-like creature they found. The creature turned out to be a siphonophore, which is an extremely rare jellyfish-like creature that just floats around on the ocean floor. What else do you think is lurking at the bottom of the ocean that we don't know about? Follow for more.
Ghosts are probably closer than you think. Sometimes you are lucky not to meet a demon posing as a ghost, while sometimes you get demon paralysis while you sleep.
This is a true horrifying story, part 21. This story took place in Dubai in the year 2016. This story was published by Jules Beck a few months ago on Khadij Times. It was a regular school day, and I was 15 years old at the time. I was laying in bed, and I felt something creep up on me. I couldn't see what it was, as I sleep in pitch darkness. I thought it was just my legs going numb. But then I found out that it wasn't. Whatever this thing was, it was heavy. I can feel it walking up towards me on my body. I also heard strange noises in my ears. Sounded like something was screaming. I turned to see if something was around me, but there was nothing there. I kept thinking this could have been a nightmare. My mom suddenly walks in, and she says, "It's okay, dear. You're probably having a nightmare. I'm gonna read you prayers, and everything will be fine." This creepy thing went away, and I fell asleep after my mom read her prayers. I woke up the next morning asking myself, wait a second, how did my mom even know I was having nightmares? So I went and asked her, and she looked at me confused. "What are you talking about? I was fast asleep at that time, and I did not walk into your room. This never happened before, and I still wonder till this day if I was alone that night." So that's Jules' story. I want to cover something myself. This is my theory behind this story. This 15-year-old child definitely had something that's known to be called yathum, scientifically known as sleep paralysis, but religiously known to be a demon that paralyzes you during your sleep. This is religiously known. If a house is filled with prayers and members of good deeds, good jinns usually protect the house from bad jinns. And the appearance of the mother walking in was definitely a good jinn protecting that child from a bad entity.
This is as bad as plane crashes get. No one knows why this plane struck the ground because everything was destroyed.
Over 50 years ago, a United States Airlines jet crashed into a Chicago neighborhood while trying to land at the airport. The video shows the wreckage. The plane was completely destroyed and a few houses were obliterated. 43 of the 61 passengers were killed in the crash, and 2 people who were struck on the ground also died. Many more were rushed to the hospital.
The longer you stare at this video, the creepier it gets. What you don't want to be caught doing is staring at this picture alone and at night.
The longer you stare at this photo, the more disturbing it gets. Okay, so the photo I'm about to show you might be the scariest photo ever. It's just a picture of a normal girl. But the longer you look at it, something disturbing happens. You might not be able to sleep after watching this.
This is possibly the creepiest toy you can buy for your child, but then it has already been banned.
This is the scariest child's toy, and its story is truly disturbing. The evil stick wand only made headlines in 2014 after someone found what appeared to be a spooky image of a demonic figure hiding behind the shiny foil. Speculation quickly turned into controversy, which eventually led to its ban.
Let's talk about some of the weirdest shows to ever be seen on television. This Japanese movie would blow your mind.
Nasubi was tortured for 335 days on a Japanese game show broadcast live to over 17 million people. As part of the challenge, he was denied almost no food, entertainment, and was completely cut off from humanity, a form of torture known as solitary confinement. Nasubi started to lose his mind, and the show's producer made millions.
There are strange comic books, but this by far seems the strangest. What would make a person sneak into a dissection class in a body bag disguised as a dead body?
This story gave me a fear of surgeries. We all know Junji Ito creates the most disturbing comics ever, but this one is on a whole new level. It's called Dissection Girl, and it's about a woman who begins stalking a doctor because of her obsession with surgeries. Warning, I am not joking when I say this comic made me nauseous, and I'm gonna tell you everything that happens, so get ready. This story begins with a medical student, Tatsuro, in the dissection lab of a hospital. All the med students are supposed to dissect bodies that were donated to science, but something strange happens when they open up up a body bag and find a woman who seems alive. One of the med students tries to find a pulse, and that's when this woman smiled. Then she opened her eyes, sat up from the body bag, and said, "Please dissect me." This woman had apparently snuck into the hospital disguised as one of the bodies. But there's something Tatsuro didn't tell the rest of his class. He actually knows who this woman is. When he was younger, he met a girl named Tamiya who wanted to play doctor with him. But Tamiya wanted him to steal a from his dad's office since he's a surgeon. Tamiya and Tatsuro would then sneak into the woods to dissect small animals like frogs. As Tatsuro remembers this moment in his childhood, he goes home and sees Tamiya has broken into his house, asking him to dissect her. Then Tatsuro sees her organs moving in her stomach. So Tatsuro runs away and doesn't see her for another 20 years. But he hasn't escaped her yet. Because 20 years later, as a surgeon in the same hospital he was a student in, Tatsuro is in the dissection lab once again. And this time he opens a body bag to find an older woman inside. But she has scars everywhere, almost as if she's already been dissected. Could this older woman be Tamiya 20 years later? Tatsuro dissected this woman, and once he did, this is what he saw. And as these creatures kept moving around, eager to escape Tamiya's body, Tatsuro looked up at her and saw that she was smiling at him. Follow for more.
There are times we wake up with scratches on our body that we had no recollection of seeing before we went to bed, but we just shrug it off, thinking nothing wrong can come from it. Watch this clip and you may never think that way again.
This is a true horrifying story, part 16. This story took place in Chicago, United States in the year 2017. Before I jump on to the story, I would like to apologize for not posting recently. I was and still am very sick. I'd really appreciate your support. And I did prepare a lot of good content that will be posted as soon as I feel better. Laith, a 23-year-old back in the time, was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. Laith was staying at his parents' home at the time. The basement was his gaming spot. On one of the nights, he was downstairs in the basement gaming. As Laith was downstairs playing video games at 2 a.m., he felt a very rough, burning feeling on his back. The burning sensation kicked in harder until it got extremely painful. So Laith yelled for help, not knowing what was on his back. His parents woke up and ran downstairs to the basement, and they found a huge scratch on their son's back. After a few minutes, the scratch surprisingly started to fade away and heal. An hour later, Laith went upstairs to brush his teeth and get ready for bed. As he was washing his face, he noticed something through the mirror. He noticed a black figure standing across the toilet, staring at him. He thought it was his little brother messing around. He rubbed the water off his face, but the figure was still there, and it didn't move. Laith decided to chase it very quickly, but that figure completely vanished. After this thing vanished, Laith started yelling so loud, knowing that this was the thing that scratched his back. Laith was never afraid of jinns after that day, knowing that these jinns physically put their hands on him. Laith described it as nothing scary. It was as tall as a young boy, and the face was just not visible. Would you chase after a jinn if it hurt you?
Do you really think we should be ready for a zombie attack? Can a possibly larger animal than the great white whale exist? Let us know in the comment section. Also, let us know which of these discoveries you found too unrealistic to be true. If you enjoyed this video, you can leave a like and share it with your friends.